Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the AM Report for HAPS News, the network of now. I'm Alex Mahajer. It's Friday, March 12th. This morning, we're going to talk about Joe Biden's primetime address to the nation on COVID-19, just hours after he signed into law the American Rescue Plan. I'm going to be joined this morning by Rance Collins, editor-in-chief of 800 Democrat. We're going to talk about the COVID-19 relief package. We're going to talk about his speech last night, why it was important, and some of the main takeaways from that speech, and cover some of today's top headlines this morning on the AM Report. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm Alex Mahajer. I don't know my own name. It's Friday. It's Alex Mahajer. If you're watching on the HAPS app, website, or platform, click the award button. Let me know you're enjoying it. Or you can click the hello button. Let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing your names and faces from all over the country and around the world, actually. Good morning, Pablo de la Hoya from Los Angeles. Good morning to Jay Opera from Branson. Good old Branson. Good to see you guys this morning. Thanks for chiming in. And let me know as we're watching the broadcast what you're thinking. Jay says he's excited to hear my thoughts, and I'm excited to share them with you. I'll be joined to do that this morning. Oh, Jose Serrato, my daughter, Jose Serrato, just gave me a Golden Squirrel Award, which I don't know what that is, but it's super exciting that I got one. Thank you, Jose. Love you lots. A Golden Squirrel Award? HAPS. Pablo, we're going to have to talk about this. What exactly is a golden squirrel, and why am I one? Let's talk about that later. But I'd like to welcome to the program my good friend, Rance Collins, editor-in-chief, 800 Democrat. Good morning, Rance.
Good morning. It's good.
You've got a fresh do.
I do have a fresh do. I actually braved a hair salon this week, and now it's tight.
I too have a fresh do, but I cut my own hair because I don't have lustrous, gorgeous hair like you. All I have to do is just trim it around the sides, and it does the job.
We all have our lot in life.
Yeah. This is your cross to bear, I'm sure. But looks great. Good to see you. Hey, Rance, remember when you'd come onto this broadcast early on when I started doing it maybe 6 months ago, and like people would write fan fiction about us?
Yeah, why doesn't that happen anymore?
That's very upsetting. People don't. That was early state. That was Reddit users that did that. Good morning, Renee. Thank you for the high award. Good to see you guys, and thank you for joining Rance. So, Rance, we've got some headlines to cover. I want to jump into it. President Biden has signed the American Rescue Plan. This is his COVID-19 relief package. He says that his press secretary, Jen Psaki, says that direct payments to Americans will begin as early as this weekend if you've got your direct debit set up. President Biden signed his $1.9 trillion COVID-19 relief bill yesterday before addressing the nation in prime time to give us a State of the Union on COVID-19. Major provisions of this bill, direct payments to adults, Americans making less than $80,000 a year of $1,400, extension of unemployment benefits of $300 a month that will go out through September. We've got aid to local and state governments. We've got aid for food insecurity, aid for rental assistance programs. We've got an extension of the suspension on the social student loan payments through September, which I believe was already directed to the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And the most significant aid to Black farmers since the 1964 Civil Rights Act. What did you think about this success for President Biden, Rance?
I mean, I don't know if people have quite processed what an overwhelmingly huge package this is, not just right now, but for American history. I think that there are certain pieces of legislation that we remember the name even decades after the passage. And I think we have found ourselves another piece of legislation that will go down in history as one of the most important of all time, in no small part because it comes on the heels of absolutely disastrous first 10 months of this pandemic before the adults took over.
Yeah, and Joe Biden didn't reference Donald Trump by name, but he has been very clear that he inherited a mess, that there was no vaccine distribution strategy when he stepped into the White House, that he expected there to be one, that there wasn't. And so they had to basically start from scratch when he took office January 20th. There were some takeaways, Rance, from the speech that I think are important to cover. First was that all states are being directed to open up their vaccine eligibility to all adults by May 1st. Joe Biden talked about Asian American hate crimes that are on the rise as a result of over a year of hateful rhetoric that came from Donald Trump and his cronies. Biden expects to hit 100 million vaccines distributed by day 60 of his presidency, which far exceeds his promise of 100 million vaccines in 100 days. And he's saying that if we do our parts, that by July 4th, he hopes that we can be celebrating Independence Day, having cookouts. What did you take away from the speech as really crucial takeaways for the American people?
Well, isn't it so great to have somebody who understands where we need to be and how we need to get there? Because we had the former guy who would say things like it's just going to disappear, blah, 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 whatever he said. But now we have somebody who lays out a plan and implements that plan. And my favorite thing about Joe Biden so far as president is that he makes promises he knows he can keep, and then he surprises us by exceeding that expectation. Originally, he said we'd all have access to vaccine by July, and now we are working more than 2 months ahead of the schedule that he put in place. So he's not an overpromiser, and that is the thing that keeps striking me, is that he's being so incredibly forthright and honest with the American people. And I truly believe that there is nothing out there that he has said he's going to do that he's not going to give his best effort. He's exceeding my expectations. I mean, like, he's honestly, I know this is going to sound like I'm waxing on poetry and we have a lot of time left in his presidency, but so far this guy is right up there with like an LBJ.
That's a bold claim. I think I'll wait to see how his presidency unfolds. But I will say that this piece of legislation it's not just a COVID-19 rescue, but it's a transformational piece of legislation that is going to have long-lasting impacts on our economy and is undoing 40 years of Reagan trickle-downism in its foundational reworking of the economy. It is a profound piece of legislation. It is a huge win. And while it leaves some things to be desired, there are still some incredible strides to take. I mean, we inherited a mess. Joe Biden inherited a huge mess. So there's a lot of work yet to be done, but it's a huge piece of legislation. We still need a minimum wage increase. We still need student loan reform. That is extremely important. We need action on climate change, voting rights. And I've talked a lot about the filibuster on this program, Rance. I know that you're also in favor of eliminating it. But as we do the victory lap on this piece of legislation and really celebrate just having leadership again, we have a commenter. Renee says, it's so great having a normal president. He knows the job. Yeah, I mean, that was my major takeaway watching him speak last night. It's like a sense of calm. Like, thank God we have him right now, not Trump, to have that leadership.
We're allowed to take a victory lap. You know, last night I posted something that was celebratory, and it doesn't take 5 minutes for a Democrat to jump on and say, like, oh, but we have to worry about this, and what if the Republicans say this on Fox News, and what are we going to do about them? Thank you. That was insane. I I I just want I want Democrats to shout from the rooftops what a huge deal this piece of legislation is, what a huge deal the American Rescue Plan is, because if we don't, then we can't rely on the Republicans to. Well, I mean, some of the Republican governors are already bragging about things they voted. Republican legislators are bragging about things they voted against, but we can't rely on um, anyone else but us to remind everybody who implemented this plan and why it's a big deal. And we have to do that now when it's popular, when it's going to make a big deal, so that they don't forget it in 2022. That's what Republicans would do. So let's not be a Republican who would never, chastise themselves, and let's brag about the great thing that we did.
Raymond Sims is making that point too, Rance. He says President Biden's doing a great job. He had a very hard task to get our country back in a positive direction, and he is succeeding so far. Midterms, he says, are very important next year to help Biden get more of his agenda out. And I'll note, both Raymond and to you, Rance, that President Biden is planning on doing a national victory lap on this. He's doing basically a national tour to sort of sell this now to the American people of why it's an important piece of legislation. He has said that he feels that President Obama was too modest in 2009 in selling the stimulus to the American public after he passed that stimulus after the Great Recession hit. And so he's going to do a tour with First Lady Jill Biden. Vice President Kamala Harris will also be going out there with her husband, second gentleman Doug Emhoff. And some of Biden's deputies are going to be doing a sort of a national press tour to sell this to the American people because it is an important piece of legislation. And I want to, Jay says, let's brag. We did it. Yes, yes, yes. He's on board with that, Rance. But let's play a little bit of some of the crucial moments from the speech last night. And I want to get your take on them. I thought, and a lot of people talking about, something that I thought was very important during the speech was his reference to hate crimes. Something that doesn't get a lot of attention, didn't get a lot of attention from the previous administration, certainly, and isn't getting a ton of press, but hate crimes against Asian Americans as a result of anti-Asian rhetoric that's been kind of pumped out into the discourse for the past year. Here is President Biden on Asian American hate crimes.
Too often, we've turned against one another. A mask, the easiest thing to do to save lives. Sometimes it divides us. States pitted against one another instead of working with each other. Vicious hate crimes against Asian Americans who've been attacked, harassed, blamed, and scapegoated. At this very moment, so many of them are fellow Americans. They're on the front lines of this pandemic trying to save lives. And still, they're forced to live in fear for their lives just walking down streets in America. It's wrong, it's un-American, and it must stop.
Rance, after a year of hearing Trump call it the China virus, it stands to reason that Asian Americans are going to start enduring racist hate crimes and attacks, and it does happen. It happens right here in Los Angeles. What were your thoughts about this part of the speech?
It's been long since we've had a president who acknowledged reality. We had 4 years where an invention of reality made up crimes against white people were basically the focal point. All of his, drummed up hateful rhetoric. He would sit there and talk about, this mass migration of immigrants coming over the border, even during periods where there were hardly anybody, by comparison to previous years trickling over the border. It wasn't about there being a border crisis. It was about drumming up racism. And the same is true with how he handled the coronavirus, because he didn't take time at all to dub it as the, I'm going to quote him here, I would never say this otherwise, the China virus is what he called it. And when you have a president, when you have a president who's just constantly disparaging and a huge, huge swath of our citizens by basically standing on his bully pulpit and blaming a deadly virus on something they had nothing to do with, then you're going to get this kind of awful, hateful hate crime actions from people. And the fact that we have somebody now who not only recognizes that, who not only is clued in and sees that that's out there, but takes the time to say something about it, it's just a night and day difference. And somebody in a position of power acknowledging problems within our society is so important to help address and hopefully eradicate those problems. So just having a president firmly rooted in reality and seeing the humanity in all of our people is just,
Absolutely. And, you know, another marked difference, I think, in Biden's demeanor and just the way he addresses the nation is his inclusivity. He's saying, I need you. We are in this together. Versus Trump, who was really just fend for yourselves. You know, it's all a hoax. You know, I alone can fix it. I'm the greatest president of all time, or you know, whatever. That's more of a Bernie Sanders impression, but you know, it's a different tone. He's striking this tone of unity. He's using hope as a public health tool by saying by 4th of July we can be having cookouts together and celebrating Independence Day. I mean, I felt hopeful. Here's President Biden talking about how he needs us. I just think that language is so important. The words that the president uses are important. That's why it's important that Trump called it China virus, because it has an impact. His words matter, and it's important in a negative way. It had an effect. It has an effect on the discourse, on people's outlook. Here's President Biden saying, I need you. I just think this was so important.
And finally, fifth, and maybe most importantly, I promise I will do everything in my power. I will not relent until we beat this virus. But I need you, the American people. I need you. I need every American to do their part. And that's not hyperbole. I need you. I need you to get vaccinated when it's your turn and when you can find an opportunity. And to help your family, your friends, your neighbors get vaccinated as well. Because here's the point. If we do all this, if we do our part, if we do this together, by July the 4th, there's a good chance you, your families and friends will be able to get together in your backyard or in your neighborhood and have a cookout and a barbecue and celebrate Independence Day. That doesn't mean large events with lots of people together, but it does mean small groups will be able to get together. After this long, hard year, that will make this Independence Day something truly special, where we not only mark our independence as a nation, but we begin to mark our independence from this virus.
Reminds me of that scene from Independence Day, Rance. And today, we celebrate our freedom. This is our Independence Day. Anyway, so a lot of comments. Eyes right into the camera to us, not a teleprompter. Bravo, Joe. Someone is saying, oh, he snips your kids. What a creep. And as some people are upset or saying later jackasses and are leaving. My daughter Jose says this isn't an airport. You don't need to announce your departure. The exits are up to the upper right-hand corner in the X button. Rants, and further, we do have a little bit of breaking news while we're on the topic of the COVID-19 crisis. Novavax is announcing as a new vaccine that is effective. US-based biotech company Novavax says that its vaccine is more than 96% effective in preventing mild, moderate, and severe illnesses based on results from phase 3 clinical trials conducted in the UK. The company also announced it was 100% effective at preventing severe illness, around 86% effective against the UK variant, and 55% effective against the South African variant in people who are HIV negative. So that's some more good news. Although the Biden administration just bought 100 million more doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, and now says that there is enough vaccine supply to vaccinate all adults by the end of May. Also very good news. So the other thing, while we're on the topic of this speech and the differences between Biden and Trump, Rance, did you see the statement that Donald Trump released? I thought this was a joke, but I'm going to full screen this for everybody so you can see. Donald Trump releases a statement. Let's see here. He says, I hope everyone remembers when they're getting the COVID-19, often referred to as the China virus vaccine, that if I was president, you wouldn't be getting the beautiful, quote, shot, end quote, for 5 years at best, and probably wouldn't be getting it at all. I hope everyone remembers. Did you see this?
Yes, I did. I like how he thinks that he did the absolute bare minimum the entire time that he had to deal with the pandemic as president, and he implemented a program called Warp Speed to accelerate a development of a vaccine. Yes, but it's the exact same thing that everybody suggested to do during that time. The fact that he just happened to be president when that started had nothing to do with the fact that he absolutely downplayed, ignored, and sent mixed messages on and damaging messages on things like mask usage for the entire time handling it, which made it to where we needed a vaccine even more desperately because we never even had a chance with him at the helm of containing the virus. And also, he, I would say, is responsible for at least a couple 100,000 deaths that have happened here in this country because of his just absolutely egregious handling of the virus. So the fact that he would get up there like the ass he is and feel the need to tweet out a statement. I'm calling it a tweet because that looked like a tweet in a statement form.
But he can't tweet, Rance, because every single social media platform in the world has deemed him not fit to be able to share his opinions with the public. Former president of the United States has been kicked off of every social media platform because of his dishonesty and his...
Apparently.
Yeah, so...
Now that Parler found a host again, he has an account on Parler.
Well, good luck with that.
He doesn't...
You know...
Just his statements go out to Parler, in case you're wondering.
Right. Fantastic. Have at it, Parler. But Parler is not going to save you, Donald, because your legal woes are mounting. Just some final news here that former President Donald Trump has some legal problems in New York. The Manhattan District Attorney plans to use a criminal law, procedural law, to extend the statute of limitations the same way that they did for Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein faced a similar thing. This law was successfully applied to his case to charge Weinstein with earlier conduct after the statute of limitations expired. The Manhattan DA saying Trump was trying to shield himself while in office and trying to let the statute of limitations run out on these financial crimes that he committed. But his time in office will not save him. That there is a procedural law that will allow them to reverse the clock on the statute of limitations for time that the former president spent out of state. Ooh, so we know the former president's being investigated in Georgia, Washington, D.C., Manhattan for various criminal financial crimes, fraud, tax evasion, trying to interfere with the 2020 election in Georgia. These are all being investigated currently, and I anticipate that the indictments will drop soon. Any final thoughts on this, Rance, before we go?
I mean, it's just these are the moments that make life worth living.
Savor that sweet justice. Thank you guys. Thank you, Rance, so much for joining. Rance Collins, editor-in-chief, 800 Democrat. Where can people find you, support your work?
At 800 Democrat. That's the number, 800. At 800 Democrat on either Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rance. I'll see you soon. Hey, this has been the AM Report for Haps News Network of Now. I'm Alex Mahaji. Thank you guys all so much for joining. Thank you for the Buy Me a Coffee Award, Raymond. Thank you for all your comments. Jailbird Dawn says Raymond. Hashtag Trump virus, says Tim David, reclaiming it. I want to thank you guys so much for a fantastic week. We'll be back next week with all of your latest political news and headlines. We're live every weekday morning, so join us to get your daily fix. If you like this content, if you like this journalism, please consider sponsoring it. You can do that at haps.tv/@Alex, where you can buy me a cup of coffee, you can give me an award, become a recurring monthly sponsor, or just click the subscribe button and get a notification when we go live every morning. Thank you for the High Five Award. Thank you, Renee. Kids in Cages, says somebody. And so we will be back next week. Thank you for the High Five Award, Cullen. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Good to see you all this morning. We will be back next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.